Hello, everyone, and welcome to Japan Archives episode 97. Today, we are going to be talking about Amanojaku and Urikohime. But first, before we get started, Thomas, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm not sick anymore, but the cough is lingering because it's just dry, which is
Right.
unfortunate. It's just dry, the cough won't go. But I'm definitely not sick anymore because my voice sounds normal again. Well, almost. I'm excited because we're still coming back. We're here again. And also, it's kind of not often that you've done a main episode, so I'm excited to sit back and enjoy.
I know I'm pretty excited myself coming up with topics and actually having time to sit more and research now is like a revelation. So I'm inquiring a few times about information that you might have because the topic for today, I'm going to just jump right in, is we're going to be having another yokai, which has been it's been a while since we've had a yokai, hasn't it?
It's definitely been a while.
We're going to be talking about another yokai, and attached to the yokai, we have a folk tale. So it's a little bit of an exciting episode for a couple of different things. But I first want to ask you, what knowledge do you have of Amanojaku?
Amanojaku, not the folktale.
Yeah, we're going to start there first.
Amanojaku, I only know as a form of kind of trickster yokai in that regard. Often used to get it confused with a different yokai, which almost has the same name of Amanojaku, which is completely different. They are not the same. For Amanojaku, yeah, all I really know is it's a kind of feminine, more female yokai, and has a perchance for being evil. And yeah, I would say more evil than being a trickster, actually. We've had trickster yokai before, and they're kind of like do it to be funny or for their own entertainment. But yeah, this is more of an evil creature in literature, I think.
I did a really short cursory search for Amanojaku, and also we don't have an entry yet on the website, which we'll be needing to add that pretty soon. So we're going to get there. So I did search the archives before I did the podcast.
I think it's good that at this point we can search our own database of research to find episodes for people. I think we've done pretty well in making a decent sized database, and we do
Definitely.
try to keep it growing a bit every month around work and things.
Oh, it's definitely expanded. And I mean, going there is like, oh, I should check, Wikipedia and the website. So we don't have anything there yet. But the information I found, yeah, it's definitely more of an evil yokai. But how I heard about it, not in the way you expect. So I'm going to be talking a little bit into my kid right now. So just bear with me for a moment because it all makes sense. So I've got a toddler. If you know toddlers, they are very interesting people. And something that will pop up is if you say something, they will go, no, it's not, or yes, it is, and disagree with something, even if it's something as simple as, oh, look, that grass is green. No, it's not. Okay. Just getting that independence set up, pulling away from being a baby, heading towards being a kid. It's, not always the most fun thing in the world. But my husband said, oh yeah, those kids, we call those Amanojaku. Yeah, they're contrary. They say if you say something, they say the opposite. So that's how I first got introduced to the yokai Amanojaku. It's a demon that is very contrary in nature, evil, not a whole ton of information beyond those couple of things, but attached to the yokai is a folktale. It's the most representation, really, that Amanojaku is presented in, is this folktale. Now, it's not a popular folktale. There are I think about 3 different versions, but I didn't find the story really in its entirety in my search. There's 3 different versions of how this tale could go. Essentially, it's the story of a couple that finds... Wait a minute. Let me just back up. Thomas, you're familiar with Urikohime, aren't you?
I know Urikohime from... I've only ever come across it in 2 sources from all my history books, and ironically, it wasn't in any of the fairy tale compendium books or the myth books. It was in 2 of my encyclopedias, so very, very small summaries of them. It's translated as something like the Melon Princess. It's very similar. The start of the story is very similar to Momotaro, as you will see when Heather reads the story. But yeah, for some reason, because it's not as popular, it doesn't seem to be included in the books that get published these days about Japanese folktales and fairy tales. They only ever seem to do the 10 common ones, like Kintaro, Momotaro, the tongue-cut sparrow and things.
Mm.
But I think all of these folktales, even if they're not as popular, are just as interesting, and I kind of wish they were in publications in English for people to enjoy and explore.
You described the Melon Princess. Yeah, you're spot on. Urikohime does mean melon princess, and yet does have that similarity to Momotaro being born from a fruit. Yeah, even like trying to find, there's 3 different versions of it, possibly more, but there are nothing seems to be agreeing, and it's not as popular, at least for the English translation. I didn't get a chance to search for it if I could find it in Japanese. So, but since there is no English translation that I was able to encounter, I actually wrote this one myself. This one is a mixture of a little bit from each different story. We can talk at the end some of the alternate versions, but what I'm going to do is I did write this one, and it's based on all the different ones, plus the one we have that is listed on the website, one of the versions that we do have, and we can talk about after we read the story. So if you're all cozy and comfy and you have your cup of tea already, I can go ahead and get started.
I'm all ready to listen, yeah.
Once long ago, there lived a couple on the edge of the river. This couple, though they had longed for it, had never had the child they so desperately wanted. Day by day, they did the farming and fishing and chores. They grew old, but they continued with their lives. Until one day, while washing clothes, the woman, let's call her Saki, Saki looked up from her basket to see a melon just bobbing along the river. "Oh, we will have a lovely treat for our break," she said as she reached and grabbed the melon. She yelled to her husband, let's call him Kintaro, "Anata, please slice this melon for me." Kintaro stopped his weeding and grunted. Taking a large knife, he set the melon on a table and started to cut. But instead of cutting the melon through, the knife stopped. The melon started glowing and split itself in 2. Out of the melon popped a little girl. The couple, surprised yet overjoyed, finally had the child they'd always wanted. "Let's call her Urikohime," Kintaro said. Well, Urikohime lived a happy life with her parents, and eventually one day caught the eye of a well-to-do young man. He proposed, and the 2 were soon set to marry. Saki and Kintaro were overjoyed and decided to go into town to buy a beautiful wedding kimono for Urikohime. But before they left, they warned, "Don't open the door to anyone." "I promise. Is it a shy?" Urikohime shut the door and was soon busy with her weaving. It wasn't too long later that she heard a small tap, tap, tap at the door. Please let me in." Urikohime set down her weaving. Please let me in," the voice persisted. Urikohime sat very still, but the tapping wouldn't stop. Eventually, she spoke. "No, I will not open this door to anyone. I see. But if you could just open the window, please, you could help me." The voice sounded more pitiful and faint. Uriko said to herself, "Well, perhaps just a little bit wouldn't hurt. I could maybe help." So she opened the window the tiniest of cracks, and a tiny hand burst through. "Ha! Just enough for me to get in. They call me Amanojaku, but I don't agree with it. And you've lived your last." And with that, the Amanojaku burst through the window. Uriko screamed and tried to run, but alas, it wasn't to be. The Amanojaku quickly sent her to the world beyond the shore. Left behind was her clothes, which the Amanojaku placed on its body, which then twisted and contorted itself to resemble Urikohime's form, although if one stared truly hard, would have looked slightly fuzzy and faint. But in a world where there's hustling and bustling to be done, especially when there's a big wedding to be concerned about, did anyone look really hard at the fake Urikohime? Time passed as it does, and the wedding day arrived. Saki and Kintaro, looking at the daughter in her wedding kimono, their tears and their weepings wouldn't stop. Thus the fuzzy Urikohime became clouded in a veil of tears in the eyes of her parents. However, outside the window, a tiny little bird woke up and opened her eyes. Urikohime had been reborn. a tiny bird with sharp eyes that wasn't encumbered by tears. It was rage that filled her eyes. And those sights became set on the Amanojaku, wearing her own beautiful wedding kimono. As the family set out for their journey to the wedding, the tiny Urikohime flew straight and true into the hair of the Amanojaku. It screamed a horrible, unearthly scream and tried to disentangle the tiny bird. Urikohime's parents pulled their hands away from ears, and simultaneously the scales fell from their eyes. They truly looked at their daughter and realized it wasn't Urikohime. Then they heard the small, faint voice of their daughter. "Amanojaku, leave now! Depart back to your own world!" Saki and Kintaro grabbed the arms of the fake Urikohime and yelled along with their daughter, and drew the attention of the other townspeople. When their neighbors started to come running, the Amanojaku returned to its original form and ran. The neighbors shouting and giving chase, for this creature was known and unwelcome. Saki and Kintaro stayed behind and looked down at the empty kimono. The tiny bird flew down and landed on the sleeve. Saki and Kintaro wept again, this time heartbroken tears which fell upon the tiny bird. Urikohime wished with all her might to wear the beautiful kimono, and perhaps there was a kami-sama or two listening, either truly touched or perhaps a bit bored, but no matter what, because with a glow of light, Urikohime became once again a woman, wearing the tear-stained kimono. Here we end our time with Urikohime, but imagining her having a happy wedding filled with joy, as well as a wonderful long life.
So like you said, the story, the very start, very similar to Momotaro, or also a lot of other fairy tales, the trope of an older couple, never had a child, want a child, they are gifted one. This time it was a fruit, like Momotaro, they cut it open, the baby's inside. Also, great job on the voices, love that, amazing. I think compared to the fairy tales and folk tales we've already read, it feels like one of the more darker tales, which might be why it's less popular.
Yeah.
Not suitable really for kids, and you can't really change the story that much to make it nicer for kids. And of course, a lot of people as they grow up, they don't really learn about folk tales and fairy tales because there is, I think, the concept that they are usually for kids. So I think that's why it's lost its popularity probably, but it's interesting in that I think we know that there are yokai which are shapeshifters, like the tanuki, they can take human forms and things, and the kitsune can also take human form, but this is the first instance of a yokai kind of stealing someone's skin or clothing to become that person and pretend to be them. So Amanojaku, what is their actual power? Because they disguise themselves by using the items of the person that they, I guess, killed, whereas other spirits have been able to just copy it.
Now, this one, the version of Urikohime we have on the archives and the History of Japan website doesn't even mention using anything, just taking her place. The different versions that you had mentioned too, I was going to give a nice little warning of one of the alternate versions, yes, is that instead of, I chose for the story a little bit more slightly softer version of taking the clothes, but in this one, yes, there's another version where he does, again, if you have kids listening, you can pause it, wears her skin instead of the clothes. One of the other version he does wear her clothes, either kills her or ties her to a persimmon tree. Even in the different versions, we have a little bit, even the most, I guess, kid-friendly, where he just takes her clothes and ties her to a tree. That's probably the most, approachable versus the just, the other one, which I don't even like talking about personally, which is why I didn't choose it. But it doesn't really say that he's using it other than just to be evil, not just taking her place, just doing something bad. And I think that one of the things I saw about Amanojaku is that just just being wicked, just being, getting people's, dark desires and acting on them. And that's kind of it. I didn't really see anything else that detailed why they were using it for, what their motivation was. Now, it might be some more different that when we do some more research, we might be able to find. But yeah, for this story, it's just mean.
It's like I said, a fascinating story, and one that I think people should learn about. My thinking now is though, how does such a creature how did that end up being the word for children
It's
who say
contrary.
the opposite? It's
Contrariness. Yeah.
very, it's in a way I see it, but at the same time, it doesn't seem. I mean, pick a nicer yokai, surely, not Amanojaku.
I think it's just like I don't think there's many yokai, I guess, that does that contrary say yes it is, no it isn't type thing. I mean, maybe we'll find another one. Maybe that's the only one. I mean, maybe that right there is enough for some people to think it's evil, just being disagreeing
Yeah,
with you. I'm not
just
sure.
being disagreeable.
Oh no, that's good. I should have gotten some more clarification on why. Maybe I can get some more, and we can do maybe a bonus or a show note update at some point in the future. I'll look into that a little bit more because
Yeah, that would be
I
good.
mean when I first encountered it, I didn't know anything about evil. I just went, oh, it's just a disagreeing demon. Oh, I could see that. There's lots of yokai there was a candlestick. So I'll get back to you on that one.
It would be interesting to see if there was a reason, or again, maybe it's just something that people just have used it for so long. The reasons why might have been lost. We don't know.
I mean, if I run into any more yokai in the raising of my child, I'll definitely be able to put them in here. So that's our yokai and folktale for today.
Well, I really enjoyed it. It was nice to, like you said, I guess in a way, it's the first time hearing the story in its fullest extent, as much as we can say that. Because there isn't one really in English. In English, it's only more really like summaries of this is the overall plot, what happened. So hearing it fleshed out as you did it, I really enjoyed it and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I am so tickled you enjoyed it. It was really fun to write, and yeah, the voices were so much fun to record. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it sounded like you were enjoying
Oh,
yourself.
completely. It was great. I guess I'm gonna wrap it up today. Oh my gosh, I feel a little bit. This is a very exciting moment. Thank you everyone so much for listening. We really appreciate you coming back. We're looking forward to giving you lots more interesting things in the upcoming year. We don't have yet. Do we have yet what we're going to be talking about next time, or is that to be determined?
I have decided, so this is our main episode, so our bonus episode is going to be we briefly talked about in Sunin's episode about the founding of the Ise Grand Shrine, and of course it was very summarized because that episode was more focusing on what he did around the major events of his reign. So I want to do a bonus episode fleshing out a bit more on the mythological origins of the Ise Grand Shrine, expanding on what Yamatohime did, as well as more about what she found when she in the area where she founded the shrine, and a lot of the people who were involved as she founded it. So that will be the bonus for next week.
Looking forward to that episode. That bonus sounds really fun.
Also, if anyone is interested, we do have a YouTube channel now as well. It's very early days for the channel, but we are uploading the podcast as like a video format instead if you wish to watch those. And if you subscribe, we're going to start posting more shorts on there as well about different aspects of Japanese history that won't be necessarily on the podcast at this moment in time. So if you do want to hear about some more Japanese history outside of the podcast, just find us on YouTube and do the whole subscribey thing.
I like that, the subscribey thing.
But I mean, that's everything from me today then. How about you?
That's all I got. So with that being said,
all right. Well, everyone, I guess we will. Oh, yes, sorry. I'm
no,
taking
this
over.
is
It's you. It's
great.
all you.
No, you do it. Keep going. This is great. I'm enjoying the momentum. I'm ready.
Oh, okay. So everyone, thanks so much for tuning in again, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
皆さん気をつけてまたね。